Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber and alongside me is Logan Camden, and you already know the drill. We have two incredible playoff basketball games to talk about today. We are also going to preview Timberwolves Warriors on the back half of this show, Logan, but we have to start with an unbelievable game one of Thunder Nuggets. I am so excited for this series, and the first game was as good as it could have been. Aaron Gordon comes through with his second game winner of the postseason so far. This one a three to steal this game. But Oklahoma City gave them an opportunity to steal this game with how they managed and executed at the end. What did you make of how they approached the finish of this game and how everything went down for Denver to end up with a win?
Yeah, I want to get into big picture stuff of this series in a minute, but I do want to start with the closing sequence. I thought this was the best game of the playoffs thus far. I think this is gearing up to be one of my all-time favorite series. I kind of had that conclusion before this game ended like this. Like I was thought we were in for a battle, but I couldn't believe the Nuggets stole it. The Nuggets looked like they had lost all hope to win this game when Gordon missed that transition corner three earlier. Like I felt like that was the one that they needed every shot, they needed every stop because Hartenstein on the other end gets that short little baby floater. You get some Russ free throws, but Chet misses a three. After that possession, Jokic big bodies Caruso, just gets to that little easy floater. Gordon gets a big rebound, then Jokic hits a three. And then again, I thought the Nuggets had sold it when Russ missed that corner three. We get a little free throw battle, and then Holmgren sells both at the line, and Brown Westbrook up the floor into the transition three for Aaron Gordon. Steal is the right word to me, Carson, because I don't think you should ever win a game when there is this large of a shooting discrepancy. And I don't know what the numbers end up being totally in this game. It felt massive for a large portion of this game, but Denver crushed Oklahoma City on the glass and in all the effort categories. Like they bullied them there. Big shout out to Russell Westbrook. Big shout out to Aaron Gordon. Big shout out to Jokic, who comes away with a 40-20 game. But yeah, man, steal is the right word to me, Carson. This is a game against a champion. You got to slam the door. Like, and I leave this to this team, and I just trust the Thunder more to close out games better than this. This is one that you just let slip through your fingers, and it feels like a really, really big deal, man. You should never lose a game like this, in my opinion. But credit to the Nuggets, to Jokic, to Aaron Gordon, to Westbrook, man. What a game! I think this has been the best game of the playoffs, man. I was glued to my seat.
It was an incredible game, but it was a horrible choke by the Thunder. And specifically, I put a lot of this loss on Mark Daigneault. I thought that he terribly mismanaged the end of this game. I understand fouling up three, but they were fouling so damn fast. So their first foul on Jokic, they inbound the ball with like 12 seconds. They immediately foul him off the catch. So no time comes off the clock. You're up three. Now Jokic makes two free throws. The burden is back on you to get the ball in. You have to make free throws again. Then what actually ended up happening is Jokic came out of the game. They were able to get SGA an open dunk off the inbound, which was a brilliant opportunity because he gets to score in live play without a stoppage. Jokic is off the floor. Denver has no timeouts. If I'm OKC in that moment, I'm saying things have gone perfectly.
So Jokic can't come back out on the floor.
We got our quick guaranteed two, and now we force them to actually create a good three on their last possession without their best player who has dominated the fourth quarter of this game, even on the floor. That was their chance to just play one really good possession of defense and win the game. Instead, they immediately foul Aaron Gordon again. He makes both free throws. Then the Thunder are out of timeouts. They barely get the inbound in to begin with. That was almost a 5-second violation. The ball ends up in Chet Holmgren's hands, who I love, but he's a 73% free throw shooter. That is a shit ton of pressure for him to have to be the guy to make those two free throws. Like, they were just prolonging the game so much by fouling that quickly. And especially when Jokic was out of the game, giving him a chance to come back in. What I said before this disaster even happened on Twitter was, you're creating too many chances for something to go wrong. You want to limit the number of opportunities that Denver has to get lucky, to have you miss free throws, to get a transition chance. And instead they maximize those opportunities, and that literally cost them the game. Like, basically single-handedly at the end. If they play one good possession of defense for 10 seconds with Jokic off the floor, they win the game.
Yeah, earlier than that, did you agree with his methodology to foul, or would you have rather him let Denver try to earn those possessions as well?
I'm okay with fouling up 3, but like I said, they just went too fast, and especially when Jokic is off the floor. And what's even crazier is they're inbounding the ball. They have to go 94 feet. Like, Aaron Gordon isn't going to go into his upward shooting motion from 80 feet away. Like, if anything, make them at least dribble into the front court, and then you foul and you've taken 4 or 5 seconds off the clock. Just way too many chances for something crazy like this to happen. Well, and that's exactly what did happen.
I mean, we can't absolve Chet either. I mean, Chet misses the 3 earlier and he misses the free throws. Like, I think he has to equally wear this one too. Like, it is a big moment and he's a young player, but that can't happen. Not 0-2.
He absolutely does. No question about it. And I thought that both he and J-Dub did not play up to the level that they need to in this game. And still, if you just don't create so many possessions in the last 12 seconds of this game, OKC would have held on for a win. That being said, I thought this was a very impressive game from Denver, and I thought this was a very impressive game from Jokic, especially the fourth quarter. He was outstanding. 18 points in the fourth on 86% true shooting, leads such a massive comeback. And by the way, Aaron Gordon also obviously doesn't just hit the big shot, but was phenomenal in this game and has been phenomenal in the playoffs. What did you make of Jokic's performance, though? How huge was that for Denver?
He was the best player on the court in this game, I felt like. I mean, and here's my thing, because I said that the Nuggets were going to push this 7 games, and I still feel that way. And I still am going to take the Thunder after this game, even though they lost, because I expected something of this formula to happen for Oklahoma City. Now, it's a shame that they waste a really good Alex Caruso game, but
oh my God, he was so great.
Fantastic in this game. I was skeptical of Chet and Jalen Williams to do this every single game. You know what I mean? To pull their weight and to play up to their level. I think they're both better than this, than what we saw in this game. But I expected a few games like this because they are young players. But the thing with the Nuggets is the fact that you can never count them out. Like, what is the one... You know, we always like teams' identities and what they do. What do the Nuggets do better than anybody else when all hope is lost, when it's late game scenarios? This, to me, is still the team that you want to see least on the other end in a late game scenario. Like, Jokic, with the ability to get to that 50 to 60% shot, with an Alex Caruso on him, I feel like that shot is boosted to 70%, you know? When he can attack a mismatch at such a high level and manufacture offense that easy late in this game. When you can go back to him at the top of the key in a do-or-die situation, and what does he do? Little jab step, boom, 3 in your mouth to keep them in this ball game. And at the end of the game, he gives you 40 and 20 in this one. I mean... I think that's another edge that Denver has in the rest of this series. It's not only their ability to generate this easy clutch offense off of Jokic, it's their ability to dominate the glass. And I think Jokic deserves a massive amount of credit for that, along with Russell Westbrook. I thought did a phenomenal job today too. Gordon and the team, man, the Nuggets brought it tonight. Like,
yeah.
Jokic specifically, though, I felt like was the best player on the court in crunch time. He was the best player. He got to all of his looks that they needed. He never stopped coming. He never stopped, man. He never stopped believing. And that's the thing about this Nuggets team, man. I think it's a little corny that they have "We Believe" on their shirts because it's like come on, man. That's the Dubs team from 07, right? Like, that's their moniker. I wish they would come up with something unique, but it is true. I always believe with Jokic on the floor that you can win, and that any deficit at any point in this game. And I also want to give the Nuggets credit because I thought the Thunder outplayed them, like, for the majority of this game.
Yeah.
They never put the Nuggets away. The Nuggets kept lingering. I'm looking up. It feels like a bigger game than it is, and it's 8 points, and it's 10 points, and it's really hard to dig the Nuggets' grave, man. It's really hard to put them to bed. Like, that's the thing we can't forget. Even with as elite as Oklahoma City is, and I expect them to play way better in this series, but you can't put them to bed. And a large part of that is to Jokic, who I thought was absolutely phenomenal in clutch time in this game.
I thought the Thunder did a really good job on him through three quarters. Even though he still had his monster box score production, he was shooting below 50% from the field. Like, I think he had 26 points on 26 shots at one point, which is crazy because he ends up with 42 on 29 shots because he wasn't missing down the stretch and he was getting to the line at an obscene rate. But they forced him into 7 turnovers. They went with Chet as Jokic's primary defender, which surprised me. I thought they would use Ihart to have more of that strength counter, and then so they could have Chet, who is certainly their best rim protector and help defender, blowing stuff up as a helper, as the low man, defending cuts off of Jokic doubles and all that good stuff. But it ended up being Chet primarily taking on that assignment. And I thought that he did a solid job. Like, I think that Chet is just an underrated post defender. He's underratedly physical. He's super slight, obviously, but plays really hard out of the post. And he's got such insane length and timing as a shot blocker, the best in the league, in my opinion, that he was able to do a solid job. And then they also just brought tons of help in doubles, unsurprisingly, specifically with the low man, where like Jokic is spinning into doubles and he just wasn't able to get a lot of easy looks at the rim for three quarters of this game. They made him work really, really hard for his points. And then in the fourth quarter, he just started playing absolute bully ball, knocks down a couple threes, but he shoots 10 free throws in the fourth quarter. So he just absolutely exploded when they needed him most. I thought, really big mistake. This is just one possession, but that can make all the difference in a game like this. They let Caruso guard him on an island, and he just backed him down and got to a little 7-foot touch shot that is automatic for Jokic. Like, you have to be doubling in those spots, and you have to trust the speed of your defense to rotate and make anybody else beat you. Even letting Jokic get one gimme like that can be the difference in a game like this. And at the end of the day, he just turned it up and was clearly the best player on the floor in the fourth quarter. I do want to give so much credit to Aaron Gordon, though, because his ability to secure extra possessions was massive. 7 offensive rebounds in this game. He has been so good in these playoffs, Logan. He's averaging over 19 points per game on 61% true shooting.
Has he been their second best player?
I do think he's been their second best player, and he's certainly been their second most consistent. Maybe their most consistent, just in terms of playing up to his own level night after night.
I don't know, man. I can't underrate how important it is having guys that, and I don't mean to disrespect Gordon's skill when I say this because he's very skilled as well, but like that experience edge, man. Like Gordon him and Russ really get it, and it's really valuable having two. Like, I think it's taken Russ a long time to get here, but Gordon's like his positioning, and he doesn't seem to fear the moment, man. In these clutch situations, the wing three, it was in rhythm, and he didn't hesitate. And I love that, man, because that's the difference. It's like when the basketball gods gift you that shot, you don't try to find something else. You shoot it in rhythm. The clutch free throws in this game. The rebound. I mean, it's his second game winner, the first game winner that we saw from him to be in that position. Like, he's so poised, he's so experienced, and he's a great basketball player, man. I just want Aaron Gordon on my team.
And it is so symbolic that he wins this game for Denver by knocking down 2 free throws and then knocking down a transition 3. And by the way, he makes 3 triples in this game. Aaron Gordon has taken such a dramatic leap as a jump shooter this year. Literally went from 65% free throw shooter to an 81% free throw shooter. His improvement as a jump shooter has made this Denver offense even more unguardable because he's always been so great at the play finishing and the mismatch attacking and the cutting and the offensive rebounding. But to be as good of a jump shooter as he is takes him up another level, and he is playing the best basketball of his life. So he deserves a ton of credit. On the flip side, where did you think that OKC cost themselves in this one? We obviously talked about like that very final sequence, but is it mostly Chet and J-Dub who you're putting the blame on for this game for OKC?
A little bit. Definitely rebounding. I think they have to do a better job on the glass and just limiting extra possessions. I mean, to be honest, I do trust the collective shooting enough around them that like I think they can withstand some off nights from Chet or J-Dub, but they can't get beat on the glass like this. That was the biggest area that I was disappointed in Oklahoma City. And it's hard, but Denver's a really good rebounding team with their athleticism, and they got dogs, man. They got guys that just work. Like, I just kind of glossed over that. I think when I was thinking about this series with Chet and Ihart, like I kind of penciled in Oklahoma City with that as a wash. I think it's advantage Denver. So that's the biggest area of concern for me.
Do you want to see more Ihart in this series? Because I think
Yes.
he should play more than he
Yes.
did in this one.
I think he maybe less Isaiah Joe, less Jay Will. Like I know
Yeah,
that
tonight
they.
was tough because Caruso was like the best player on the floor in
Mhm.
stretches, so they wanted him out there. But I think Hartenstein is the best option to put on Jokic, even though the Chet matchup went fine. Again, I want the dude with the most strength. I want my best rim protector in that roamer role. That is Chet. I want him more involved as a helper than just as Jokic's straight up man defender. And
Mhm.
also, I think another underrated part is Ihart is so much better at keeping Jokic off the offensive glass. Like there were a couple spots today where Chet had a really good initial contest, or the Thunder swarmed him and they forced the initial miss, but then Jokic cleans up his own miss. Hartenstein is really the only dude who can keep him off the glass physically. And then I also thought that Hartenstein was really good offensively in this one. I thought that his
Mhm.
push shot making was really big as a release valve. And obviously, he's just their best rebounder overall. So they lost that battle convincingly. And it is an advantage for Denver, but I think the more you play Hartenstein, the more that you can limit how much of an
It
advantage
just
it is.
it just makes sense, right? Like the
Yeah.
best player on the opposing team that you're playing, the best matchup, I still think is Ihart. Like Jokic is going to move Chet around at will, man. Like, and I think you saw that in this game, even when they were, like hand fighting at one point in this game, and Jokic gave him a shove. Like, I think that's traditionally overplayed because I think Chet can still be super impactful as a rim protector, but like he's going to get moved around. And you
Yeah, it's
obviously.
really the length, and then you trust that you're going to send doubles. Like their best
Mm-hmm.
defensive
Well, and.
performance of the year came with Ihart off the floor. Like the best game they played was their
Mm-hmm.
season opener, and that was Chet on Jokic, and that was a shit ton of doubles. Like his length is really impactful, but I still would want to go more Ihart in this matchup, I think.
I completely agree. And I think they can do a much better job. And early in this game, I mean, the first three quarters, I thought they did a much better job of that, of
Yeah.
being disruptive, of getting deflections. Like, it's really
7
about,
turnovers
yeah,
Jokic had.
it's really about finishing the job for OKC. The other areas, J Dub and Chet have to wear this. Chet for the end of game stuff, for being inconsistent. J Dub, I'm just disappointed. Like, I
Yeah.
need to see it. And this is why I was nervous about Oklahoma City. And I don't know to just chalk it up to inexperience, but these guys were way more reliable in the regular season, and they got to get comfortable. Denver felt like they were dictating late, and SGA can't do all of this by himself. God bless Alex Caruso and what you get out of him. Like, you needed that with the
Mm-hmm.
off nights from them. That's a simple key, is just those guys getting going. The other area, and I thought the Nuggets did a really good job of this early, but could even do a better job of this. That's capitalizing on defense. At Denver, I thought, and Oklahoma City had parts of this game where they were better at it, but just limiting fast break and transition opportunities. They mentioned it on the broadcast, but the Nuggets led the NBA in fast break points in the regular season. And I think a big key is just which team can capitalize more off of getting those stops and getting out on the break. They're both very good at it. Who's going to win the transition battle? I thought determined portions of this game. And who's going to implement the zone, man? I thought both of these defenses were most effective when they were in that zone look. So I think it's fascinating. Oklahoma City ultimately, to me, though, has to do a better job of closing this game, man. They were the better team for the majority of this game. They
Mm-hmm.
just let this one slip through their fingers. So the biggest thing to me is rebounding and J-Dub and Chet, and they aren't things that I can just pencil in. Again, the pendulum of basketball normally swings even, and so I think these things are going to even out. That's why I think this series is going to go the distance. I think we're in for an all-time classic. I think this is going to be one of my favorite series ever, dude. These are two titans. These are
Yeah.
great basketball teams, man.
I'm so excited. These are my two favorite players going head to head. They're two of my favorite teams to watch. So I was very hyped on this series coming in, and game one certainly lived up to the hype. I do put most of this loss outside of Dagnall just blundering how he managed the late game on J-Dub and Chet. I thought that they both did some great things defensively, which is where they do consistently have such a high floor. Like Chet has 4 blocks and a steal in this one. J-Dub has 2 steals and 2 blocks, had what should have been basically the game-winning block on Aaron Gordon after that offensive rebound. Like that was an incredible play where you just see his freakish rim protection for being a wing. But I was really disappointed with J-Dub. Like Chet has to make more shots. He has to shoot better from beyond the arc when he gets those open looks. And realistically, like, he misses a dunk in this one. I thought that he had a very clean look at a putback that he just kind of fumbled, and then he misses the free throw. So the shots were there for him to have a very efficient, clean, just sort of fit in, do your thing offensively, check kind of game. And he just missed a couple looks. J-Dub's performance was more concerning to me in that I really didn't like his approach, and I really didn't like the looks that he was getting to. I thought that he was really bad in this one, which is disappointing coming off of the best series of his young career, some of the best basketball he's ever played. He goes 5 for 20. He's 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter. I thought there were a number of out of control drives from him where he's forcing some really tough finishes, tough runners, and he's basically just smothered. He really does not play through contact very well at all, and I thought that you saw that on a number of his drives in this game. And then he's got to be able to knock down his catch and shoot threes, which he couldn't do. He's only 2 of 9. So when Denver is so consistently outright doubling SGA, like, they were extremely aggressive after the first quarter of this game, making anybody else beat them. J-Dub is the guy who has to be able to step up and take those advantages and knock down the catch and shoot threes and get good looks as a driver. And instead, he was really bad. And other guys actually did do their jobs. Caruso shot the hell out of the ball. Lou Dort shot the ball pretty well. J-Dub was the one who really struggled and has to be way, way better, especially in the big moments, because I thought SGA was good in this game. It's not going to be like crazy sparkling efficiency, but it was still solid. And he gives you 33, 10, and 8. Obviously got out to a red hot start in the first quarter, and then they were very aggressive with their doubling. There were a couple pick and rolls where they just played drop against him, but for the most part, they were playing aggressively, bringing two up to the level and forcing him to be a playmaker. Still, though, I thought SGA was able to get his, like, he maybe forced a couple shots against double teams, but he also made 1 or 2 in those spots. And he created a ton of shots for his teammates. It's not a bunch of like, wow, dazzling skip passes, but when there's 2 on you, like, you just got to get the ball out of there because you have an advantage elsewhere and you just have to get that machine kick-started. I thought he did that, and for him to only have 1 turnover with the level of defensive pressure they were bringing, because I thought Christian Braun brought it in terms of his intensity and his physicality, and I thought that Jokic brought it when he was playing up at the level. Like, they did not make life easy on Shai, bringing so many bodies at him. And I thought that he still did his job. And if the Thunder shoot a little better, if J-Dub is better, if Chet is better, I think that he definitely did enough for them to win this basketball game. So I do put it more on those second and third stars, who I'm a big believer in both of them, but this was an unacceptable offensive performance from both of them. Even though they lost, I want to make sure that we give adequate love to this Alex Caruso game because it's one of the all-time role player performances. I think he's the perfect role player. Say something about it. Don't just stand there, white boy. Say something.
He's a monster. He's a monster. Dude, Caruso had what, like 6 steals and 2 blocks in this game? I mean,
does he have the 2 best defensive performances of the playoffs? This in game 3 against Memphis, has anybody had a better defensive performance? I don't think so.
I mean, what are we talking about? Like impact-wise?
Yeah, I'm talking about impact, disruption. He's insane. He's a madman.
You wouldn't say like Zoo had one of those games?
Zoo was pretty great.
Like what he did on Yoke? Like, I don't know. I think
Zoo was pretty great. The thing is, when you are literally getting 4 to Gobert, 6 steals in a basketball game, Gobert also had some great performances. These are good shouts. And I agree, those performances maybe aren't as flashy and they don't have as many obvious swing plays.
Yeah. Like,
wreaking havoc, nobody has done at the level of Caruso.
The shooting,
but what I would say is, like, when you are forcing turnovers at that rate and you are also clamping and you are offering rim protection and blocking shots, like, you are giving your team like +4 swings on all these plays because you're taking away a bucket on one end and then you're creating a bucket immediately on the other end because you're getting out in transition so much. Him doing this at that level is so extremely valuable. He's the best defensive guard on the planet. I honestly don't think it's close. He steals a rebound from Russ in this game too. Like, he's got to chase down. He had 3 steals in his first 6 minutes on the floor.
Caruso's +13 in this game, man.
Yeah, he's +22 at some point late, and then OKC kind of fumbled it down the stretch, but he's just a game-breaking player, And then offensively, like Jokic was trying to roam off of him, and there was just no way he was going to get away with that. He was stepping into those shots
I
and
think
knocking them down, and
they
he was
need
good as a
to.
playmaker.
That is one area. Denver's defense cannot concede open looks to these guys. I thought Dort got way too many just like step into easy threes. I thought Caruso did. Like,
Yeah, there were a few where like Jokic is just not closing out on dudes he has to close out on, because I think he's just thinking, okay, if I close out, I'm going to get blown by. But they definitely did let up some wide open threes. At the same time, I said this coming in, like, you can't defend everything
like
at once.
picture,
So
you got
with
picture
them
poison.
being as aggressive on Shai as they are, shooters are going to get open looks. That's just the reality of this matchup. I'm not saying they can't do a better job on some individual possessions, but like just at a macro level, that is a reality I think they're going to have to choose to live with. But
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
said coming
but
in, like,
like,
I wanted to see a lot of Caruso in this series,
I'm
and I want to
just,
continue to see a lot of Caruso because he was amazing.
yeah, I just don't want to do it to anybody on this team. Like Dort was what, like a 40% shooter this year. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Caruso, I don't think had a great shooting year, but he's a great shooter. Like, I it,
He's a solid
OKC's
shooter.
hard. OKC's hard to defend. I think he's a really good one. I'm still really concerned. Are you nervous about the Thunder in the rest of this series? Like, I think the defense is going to be really great and disruptive. I don't know about the rebounding. How do you feel? Like, what's your confidence index level? Like 1 to 10, 1, you're completely out on them. 10, you're, fully confident on Chet and J-Dub delivering in this series.
To a level where OKC is still going to win,
Yes.
I'm at least an 8. Like, I think that they're the better basketball team. I think that they have a few really big advantages that you do see in this game. Like, Denver's clear advantage is on the glass with their overwhelming size, especially when iHeart isn't going to play a ton of minutes like he did in this one. And they're going with more of those like 4-guard lineups. But OKC's massive advantages, their ability to force turnovers, absolutely insane. It's unparalleled. They force 18 turnovers. They take care of the basketball really well. They only have 9. So that's massive. They're +9 in that margin. They're +14 in transition. They were so great in terms of their transition offense. And I thought their transition defense overall in this game was really, really good against a Denver team that is so good at pushing pace. In the first half alone, man, they had 3 chase down blocks in transition. They had multiple steals as Denver was just trying to get the fast break started. So those are advantages that are going to be reliable for them. And probably the biggest one, man, in the non-SGA minutes, OKC goes +14 in this game. In the non-Jokic minutes, Denver is -12. Now, those minutes match up almost exactly. Jokic just played a little bit more than Shai, but they have the same rotation where they play the full first quarter and then they sit the first half roughly of the second. And then they do the same thing with the third and the fourth. But they're just so much deeper, and they have been so consistently so much better in the non-Shai minutes than Denver has been without Jokic. Like, there could not be a bigger gap. OKC was a +9 net team with Shai off. Denver played like the worst team in the league with Jokic off. And they're not as bad when Murray is on and Jokic is off. Then they were just like a -2 net team this year. But it's still a big difference that I think OKC is going to have every game. And if J-Dub doesn't play an F game,
Yeah.
OKC still would have won this one. Like, I just think they have a lot more margin. I think some things had to go
100%.
really
Also,
wrong for them. You mentioned the 3-point shooting. Like, yeah, that favored OKC, but not by very much and not by more than I would expect in an average game. Like, they shot 34%.
well, I
Denver
think
shot
something for
31%.
I think something did swing their way, and that's the fact that I'm gonna just like, what's wrong with Michael Porter Jr., man?
Oh, my God.
What is wrong with him?
Well, he does have a shoulder sprain. That's
I don't
something.
like that backcourt.
Perhaps he has a brain sprain as well.
That backcourt that backcourt would have made me put him on the bench for good, man, like indefinitely. I've never ever seen anything like that. Like, and that wasn't the only falling asleep. I don't know, man. I'm just
gets a rebound taken from him by Jay Will. Like,
what is going on with MPJ?
there have been way too many moments in way too many games where he is not meeting the level of playoff intensity that everybody else on the floor is meeting. And if you try that shit against the Oklahoma City Thunder, man, you are going to get smacked in the mouth because they are going to steal the ball from you on a rebound. They're going to force a turnover. And when he also can't make a shot, he goes 1 of 8 from the field in this game. Really, really bad. They were -15 with MPJ. All other Denver starters were at least +10. Like, that's crazy. And that's where, once again, Logan, we have to shout out Russell Westbrook for giving some really good minutes in this one. I thought he was good pushing pace. I thought that he was really good as a cutter. I thought he was able to use his strength advantage against some of these smaller guards to finish. I mean, he even has a turnaround where he uses his strength to create some space against Case and Wallace, makes 2 mid-range jumpers in this game. That's crazy.
I did think Russ had a great game. What do you think about that corner three at the end? Were you okay with that shot?
It's an open look. I think he kind of had to take it in that moment.
I tend to agree.
You can't just pass up open shots, and Russell Westbrook is not inclined to do that. He does miss that shot. He does miss a free throw, so he wasn't perfect. But guess what? He does not force it on the final play of the game. He finds Aaron Gordon on the wing.
He's doing his job. He did his job. He's a hustler, man. And I'm so happy, man. This is such a good Russ arc and like the perfect team for him.
It's so awesome, dude, because like there was a stretch of the year when Aaron Gordon was out and Jamal was really struggling and Russ was balling that he was playing as their second best player. And then there were some rough moments towards the end of the regular season, but for him to come back and play at this level in almost every playoff game up to this point, he's been really good, and they've needed him because of MPJ's inconsistency. It's awesome. He is such an energizer bunny. I had him on my second team all motor. He probably should have been first team. I had Caruso on my first team. I tweeted this out today. Russ really is crazy, though. And like when he was younger, I kind of thought his motor was a little bit overrated because people kind of conflated like energy with him just playing super fast and being super athletic. But defensively, Russell Westbrook in his prime was very disengaged very often. This Russell Westbrook legitimately is nonstop flying around, impact on both sides of the ball and on the glass, and just filling his role at a really high level. So I'm super excited for this series. I do think that OKC can play considerably better. I think that a lot of that falls on J-Dub. Some of it falls on Chet as well. I do think that they can shoot a little bit better from beyond the arc, but same goes for Denver. The one guy who I did think was made to work really, really hard on the Denver side was Jamal Murray. Not efficient. He has 4 turnovers. I do expect that to continue. This is a really difficult matchup for him, as we talked about. Just insane perimeter defense from OKC. So much physicality, so much athleticism. He is not going to be able to get to an easy shot diet in this matchup. But that's a great win for Denver.
Last guy I want to shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out Christian Braun, man. I thought Christian Braun had a really good game too, man. They got dogs in Denver.
Did some great work on the glass, and you talking about them having dogs, man. I think that's the most impressive part of them getting this game. They were in a game 7 48 hours ago, and OKC has been resting, and OKC brought their punch. Like if there was any game where I thought we wouldn't get peak effort from Denver, it was going to be this one. And like, I would understand that, but instead they just absolutely bring it. Logan Camden is dead, so I'm going to address these super chats by myself. Liam Lowell, fouling up 3 is a cardinal sin and was repaid as such. I do agree. I do actually think that fouling up 3 should be outlawed. What I think they should do is an intentional foul in that spot in the last 2 minutes. You should get free throws and the ball. Maybe that's radical, but that's my take. I think that we should get rid of fouling up 3 because I think it's bad for the sport, but the basketball gods definitely got it back. Evan Hale, just want to give love to my favorite creators with some monetary compensation. Thank you very much. Might as well ask, which of these 3 upsets carry the most weight to you? That's a good question. So Logan, which one would you put the most stock into? By the way, I'm so glad to see that you're alive. I was scared for a second there. Pacers, Knicks, or Denver?
That's a great question.
I think there's one obvious odd man out here that we'll talk about that I do not put nearly as much weight in as the other 2.
I think the Pacers. For you. I think the Pacers, honestly, for me, just because it was the most unexpected. Like I expected Jokic to get his and dominate, and I still don't think the Thunder have a great answer for him in single coverage or with anybody. Like Jokic, he had 40 and 20, man. So yeah, I expected the Nuggets to get one. But Indiana, I was just really shocked that Indiana did, even though they're down Garland, which I guess dings it a little bit, but I'd probably say Indiana.
I think I'm actually going to lean this game. I was really impressed with Jokic's ability to fight through in that 4th quarter and reach that level. I thought that they had the right scheme defensively and they executed it decently well. It's really close. The real factor in Indiana's favor that like could swing my outlook on the series more than this one individual game is the fact that like now these injuries are piling up for Cleveland, and we're not sure of Garland's status. Apparently Mobley and DeAndre Hunter both might miss game 2. So that to me creates maybe more of an upset opportunity for them. But I thought both were impressive game 1 wins that showed where both these teams do have advantages in their matchups. I wouldn't move off my pick for either one. I'm still taking both Cleveland and OKC, but I think that we're in for 2 great series. Gabriel does ask, do y'all think the Mobley, Hunter, Garland potential injuries change your predictions for the Cavs series? Depends on who actually ends up playing and who doesn't. Like if all those guys are out, then yeah, the Pacers are going to win the series. But if Garland and Mobley at least are back, then I think that the Cavs still win the series. DeAndre Hunter, I don't think they need. It would be nice to have him. He's a really good
They should
versatile
play him
two-way
more
player.
still, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Dogwami also says, honestly, OKC is better without Chet, too skinny SMH. No. Dude, Chet is so disrespected.
They can't take White Boy of the Year Chet Holmgren out, bro. Come on.
Chet is so damn good. I don't know why people just don't value defense.
I'm not gonna lie. He kind of deserves to get shit on after this game, and he's gonna wear it.
Yeah, he definitely did not have a good offensive game.
Yeah, he's
but
still
it's just
an elite
crazy.
rim protector, and like it's just we keep talking about it. It's the most like underappreciated archetype, like that we always say, man, that rim protector role. And once Chet does figure it out, because Chet's gonna figure it out in a big way, and he's going to be so much better offensively. It's just like, okay, y'all go ahead. Y'all laugh about, your Chet Holmgren. Hee, ha, ha, ha. Chet is going to be a top 10 player in the league one day, and I'm going to laugh at all y'all because Chet's a monster. And this is a low moment for Chet, and I really hope it's one of the lowest in his career. Real bosses take losses. Chet is going to take this, and he is going to grow from it because that's ultimately how he's going to become a better player. He missed the late 3 tonight. He missed the 2 free throws. These are the things that happen in our lives. You have an issue and you get over it. Chet's going to work through it. He's going to be a better player. Like, it comes with growth and being a young player in this league. Like, I think Chet's going to get shit on, and rightfully so. He didn't come through in the clutch, but he's also a great basketball player already, and he's going to be so much better, man. So y'all go ahead and we can laugh it up now. Chet's going to be kicking everybody's ass in a couple years.
He also just had an amazing series in which he played like a top 20 player end to end, and he's not going to get his credit for that, but he was so dominant on both ends of the floor against Memphis. And people are so obsessed with how skinny he is, man. Like, people have literally always hated on him just for that. And like, I think a lot of people said, oh, he's going to be a bust just because he's so skinny. And it's like, man, he's an 88th percentile post-up defender this year. You still can't score on him unless you're a freak like Jokic, who's the best offensive player ever, because he is going to contest everything with that insane length and that insane timing as a shot blocker. And I do think that he is the best technical rim protector in basketball. He's a uniquely gifted shooting big. He's a uniquely gifted ball handler. He's uniquely fast for a 7-footer. He's so good in transition. He's a good passer. Chet is a monster, and I hate the disrespect.
Yeah,
now,
right,
if
Gordon
you're praising...
Gordon did baptize his ass today.
That was insane. That was absolutely gnarly. What I will say, Dogwami, is if you're trying to praise OKC's unique lineup versatility and their ability to be great with iHeart as the lone big, or with Chet as the lone big, or with the double big, then I would say, yes, they are great in all of those different iterations. Amazing game 1. We've talked about it for long enough at this point. Let's talk about the other game 1 today that was also down to the wire and really exciting. The New York Knicks, Logan, steal a win in Boston from the Celtics. What did you take away from this?
What a game. I couldn't. The most shocking thing to me about this game was the fact that the Knicks won this, without a really good Karl Anthony Towns game. Like, I thought he had a good game early, but he gets in foul trouble and then just puts up a stinker. Like,
third quarter was one of the worst quarters I've seen from a star-level player this year from Karl Anthony Towns.
Dude, it was embarrassing, and it really didn't matter who they put on him, and if it was Horford, if it was Holiday, if it was Derek White. Like, it was weird. He was doing really good with some of the mismatch attacking stuff early, but he gets
the doubles gave him hell.
he gets into foul trouble. He starts getting trapped, and it's just strange. Like, I would have thought for any game, and shout out Bridges, shout out Anunoby, shout out everybody else, like, for picking up the slack. But I thought a prerequisite for any Knicks win in this series would have been Cat having a big game, and that was not the case. I thought Mitchell Robinson did a really good job. I thought they were better in his minutes than they were with Cat. You know, he was battling on the glass. Anyway, the biggest thing also on top of that was the Celtics offense to me. I think their offensive process has to be much, much better. Shout out to the Knicks for capitalizing and coming up big. Boston misses 45 threes in this game. That's an NBA playoff record. And I have been critical of the Celtics offense in the past. If you go back and listen to any of our old shows from a year or two ago and how they can be overly reliant on that, I tend to think that is also a narrative that gets overplayed with this Boston team because it's a superpower of theirs where they can make so many of them that they just completely dominate the other team. But it's also a feel thing. It's like, sure, that's a superpower, but at certain parts in the game, if that shot stalls out, you got to be able to manufacture easy offense from other areas. And I thought they did a really poor job of attacking specific liabilities on the court. There wasn't a lot of process. They're hucking up a lot of threes. But this is a Knicks team that, for the majority of the time on the court, you're going to have one of these three players out on the floor. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, or Mitchell Robinson. All of whom I think you can attack one-on-one. What are the Celtics also great at doing? Mismatch attacking. Use your superpowers, man. This is like Superman saying, nah, fuck it, man. I'm not going to use my laser vision. I'm going
to try to be Fart Man.
Yeah, I'm going to be Fart Man, bro.
It's not your brand. It's just not your brand.
What are you doing? You're super strong. Just
stop farting.
Exactly. You have Jalen Brunson on the court. Put Jayson Tatum, somebody attack him. You know, you've got Cat or Robinson on the floor. Get them out in space and make them defend you in space. Shout out Robinson, though, that late contest on Tatum when they did get the switch. But again, Tatum's settling there. Like, I thought the Celtics' offensive process was really bad, and this was just a really, really ugly game from the Jays. Straight up. I expect more from them. And this should have been a game they put away. Carson, I texted you mid-game. I was like, man, the Knicks are sorry. They're chopped. I wrote them off. I thought this game was over, and then they stormed back because Boston just stalled out. So the Jays have got to be better, but more importantly, their entire offensive process has to be better. You know, again, I think this is traditionally a narrative that gets overplayed with this team. This is a really great offense. It's one of the best offenses in basketball. They've got elite talent. Also, Porzingis isn't out there on the floor. I think we have to mention that, too. He goes out in this game with an illness.
Yeah.
I think that was a component. Even though he didn't have a great round one series, I think it's important to mention. But the process has to be better. I think they need to be better at attacking specific things in the Knicks' defense. And Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown just have to be better straight up, man. Great win for the Knicks. Again, man, these are swing games. Game one of the series. This is a big deal. Shout out the Knicks for stealing this one, for not giving up. And shout out Jalen Brunson for doing what he does best in crunch time. But I think the Celtics kind of gifted this one to him, man. This was a really bad this was a choke from Boston, quite frankly.
It was a horrifying performance by the Celtics. And I do want to give the Knicks credit because I thought their physicality and intensity defensively really picked up and was really good in the second half of this game. But it was an embarrassing offensive performance by Boston. And I think that you touched on a lot of the key points, but I've got some specific numbers that really crystallize just how bad it was. First of all, Boston missed the most threes in a playoff game in NBA history. They missed 45 threes in this game, Logan. They shattered the previous record, which was actually Minnesota with 40 just a week ago against the Lakers, and they found a way to win that game. The Celtics did not find a way to win this one. So the three ball was horribly off for them, and their stars were terrible. In the second half, in overtime, Jayson Tatum was 3 of 13 with 3 turnovers. Jaylen Brown was 2 of 9 with 2 turnovers. Like, they were just as bad as it gets. And you're talking about the offensive process. They settled way too much. I agree 100% there, but they were actually targeting those weak points a decent amount. Like, Tatum kept on having Brunson's man screen for him, and Brunson would show, but Tatum was only interested in hunting that pull-up three, and the pull-up three was way off for him
Just
today.
back him down. Like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Just like, you're almost a foot taller than him, Tatum. What are we doing?
And off switches with Brunson, he's hunting the step back three. Off switches with the bigs, he's hunting the step back three. I did think Brunson defended him quite well, actually, off a couple switches late in this game, and was moving his feet well, was being physical with him out on the perimeter, and kind of forced Tatum to settle for a couple jumpers. But that's where, if I'm Boston, if I get that switch, I'm willing to reset a bit and try to get Tatum post position, because that's where he really has his advantage against Brunson with his size and strength. But he was just doing way too much jacking up threes when his three was terribly off, like down to the last possession of regulation. You're 4 of 15 from deep, and that's the look that you hunt. It was just really, really bad process from him. And then Jaylen Brown in the first half, he was playing some really nice bully ball on Jalen Brunson. And in the second half, he fell in love with the three ball. And he's been a well below average jump shooter all year. We've talked about this. It's been a consistent problem. He was 32% from deep. So that's not good offense for him. He goes 1 of 10 from three, and he couldn't beat Cat off switches. Like, he was settling. He was not getting good looks, and he had a couple of bad turnovers late. So I did think the Celtics absolutely could have done more to exploit their advantages against Cat and Brunson. I also thought those guys just defended better in the second half, like significantly better. Boston only got 5 points off 15 isolations in the second half and overtime. So their strategy of like trying to go at those specific guys didn't work.
Though, but you know what? What's also frustrating about Boston's offense? It's not just that they settle for the threes, and that it was that the offense stagnated.
100%.
I felt like too, dude. Like, nobody's cutting. Nobody's moving. There's no off-ball screens. There's no, like, nuance. It's literally 5 out with a guy isolating at the top of the key, and it's such a... I don't know, man. It's vanilla. It's like you're not going to... No defense is scared of that, man. They can just stand there and wait for the shot to get put up. I just thought it got really, really stale, and I expect more from the Celtics.
What I would say is normally they are exceptional at that. I mean, they're as good
Normally
an isolation team. They're the best in terms of exploiting defensive weak points.
Again, I don't know. It's a feel thing. I just feel like you got to have a counter, or you got to have I'm going to go set a pin down or a back screen for my boy over here in the corner, and we're going to get something. Like, the offense
what I would say is
stagnated.
You have to penetrate. Like, pause.
Hey, yo. I agree, though.
I agree. You feel like you're creating separation for your pull-up jumper, okay, that's fine. But if you're missing every single one of them, like, get the drive and kick game kick-started by getting past your man and creating an open catch and shoot look for a teammate. Those are better shots than Tatum and Brown
kick the ball,
jacking up pull-up threes.
Or work it. You know what I mean? Kick the ball down on the low block and let's get something started. Like, it's just a lot of...
I like them attacking mismatches. Like, I can't be critical of them going at Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. They just have to be way better at it, and they have to have more variety in their attack when one aspect is so terribly off. So they melted down. Like, I put a vast majority of this loss on Tatum and Brown for the Celtics. Obviously, nobody shot well from deep for them. And like, their whole shot selection, man, there were a couple of Drew Holiday threes that he put up that I hated in this game. Derek White didn't shoot well. Al Horford didn't shoot well. Like, they had an exceptionally bad 3-point shooting game, but their process also sucked. And on the flip side, like, you're dealing with Jalen Brunson in the clutch, man. If you're going to be this sloppy and let them stick around, I like Brunson to outplay Tatum and Brown if they are going to be super stagnant, playing iso ball, settling for their jumpers. Meanwhile, Brunson is always going to be able to carve out a pretty good look for himself. And he was awesome for most of the fourth quarter. He had a couple turnovers where I thought that Boston threw a couple of nice looks at him where they confused him with like some soft doubles, but he nailed back-to-back step-back threes over Horford. Kind of torched him off a couple switches. That's not an easy thing to do. And Boston was just really, really sloppy. So I do think if the Celtics just clean up their offensive process and they shoot better, both of which they can do dramatically better than they did in game one, I think Boston can win some of these games in a blowout. But if they're going to play like this in the clutch, Jalen Brunson is going to be better, and he was. And that was a big part of the Knicks escaping with this win.
Do they need Porzingis to win this series?
No. No. I think Porzingis would help because I think this is a really good matchup for him. Like, he torched the Knicks in their last meeting. I think he does a really good job of punishing Cat for not being so good guarding out in space, and he's just such a lethal shooting weapon. He wasn't playing well before he left this game, but like they were also kind of trying to force some passes to him against mismatches, and they just couldn't really even complete some entry passes. That to me is an area where he can be effective attacking mismatches in this matchup. He's normally great there, but the shooting is really, really valuable. But even without him, man, I mean, they still have a great shooting big in Horford who's super switchable defensively. Like, they should absolutely still win this series comfortably. And if they don't shoot themselves in the foot as badly as they did in this game, they will.
Yeah, the Jays in the second half, man. 3 of 18, 2 of 14 from deep.
Just terrible.
Celtics got outscored by 16 points, man. I mean,
yeah, it was some of the worst
stuff.
basketball that they have played all year. I do want to give props to OG Anunoby for shooting the hell out of the ball. I thought he was excellent. Josh Hart secured the Knicks a bunch of extra possessions in this game. I thought that was big. Deuce McBride injected some bench offense. So, like, the Knicks obviously played well to win this one, but this one did say more about the Celtics just playing way, way, way below their level, and they have to clean that up. And I did think, like you said, they did a really good job on Cat. Like, they were guarding him super well with wings, which is doubly to their benefit because they're guarding Cat well, but then also that allows their center to roam, like especially when it's KP, if he can be parked in the paint and helping off of Josh Hart, like he can be so impactful as that interior defender. So that was great. They were being super physical with him. They were rattling him. He was 2 of 8 with 5 turnovers in the second half. Like, he was just terrible, totally lost his composure. So that was the one thing that really went wrong for the Knicks in this one. And I am concerned about that if I'm them going forward, because we saw some similar issues with Cat down the stretch of last series where they're guarding him with Tobias Harris, not an actual big, but Tobias Harris is allowed to be super physical and handsy with him. And you're forcing Cat to try to beat you consistently as an inside the arc scorer. That's where you can get some offensive fouls, some turnovers, some forced runners that are tough looks for him.
He's still really inconsistent. I just don't like, that's still the knock I'd say with Cat, man, is I wish he was more consistent. He doesn't have a high baseline. There's a lot of volatility with Cat's game, and he can give you some really great performances. And this one was just ugly. Like, the way he started, man, I was excited. I thought we were in for a big Cat game, and then just melts down. 1 of 7 in the second half for him too, man. Him and Bridges both were off in the second half. But
I like how we're saying slightly different numbers for the second half, and it's because my second half numbers include overtime. That's the sort of detail that makes a difference in this business, Logan.
Cat's got to be better, man.
Yeah, he's got to be way better. The Knicks can't win this series. I'm just going to come right out and say that. No. Boston has way too much margin. They are still going to be able to get those mismatches that they like. And I think they're going to be able to generate a much better shot quality out of it going forward by making a more concerted effort to attack off the dribble, to stop settling. And like, dude, I mean, if they shoot 28% from 3, they win this game, and they played an F game. They played a horrible game, and it still went to overtime. They're just way better as a two-way team. And like, even though Brunson was impressive, he had to work. Brunson had to work. He shot 4 of 14 inside the arc, and he had 4 turnovers.
Like, it was really his three-point shooting that kept him going. I just don't think the Knicks played their best game either.
They shot 46% from 3.
I mean, I think Cat and Bridges both can play much better.
I agree. I also thought that OG was phenomenal. Like, you're not going to expect that level of production out of him every night. I just think this was as bad as a game possibly could have gone for the Celtics. Like, literally, F Tatum game, F Brown game, F shooting game. Porzingis leaves the game early with illness, and we don't know what's going on with him. Like, so many things went so terribly wrong, and it still went to overtime. I think they should either win 4 straight from this point or win 4 out of 5. And like, I'm not trying to disrespect the Knicks. I just think the Celtics are way
I wouldn't
better.
be surprised if this went 7-2.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
You saw advantages for the Knicks that you think are sustained beyond this game.
Not a Celtics just kind of scaring me, man.
they have the propensity to have a game like
Just
this, but it's rare.
the fact that KP has not been anywhere close to the level of player that I think he needs to be. I think this is a really tough matchup for Tatum and Brown against both of these wings in Anunoby and Bridges. Like, I think they're going to have to work. I think that Cat can play better. I think Bridges can play better offensively. And I think the Knicks also have two bigs that can bang bodies with the Celtics bigs. And I think Mitchell Robinson and Luke Cornett minutes, I think it's advantage Knicks when Mitchell's out on the floor against him. So it's like, not that I think this is even, but if KP is going to be off or out of this series, that changes things for me. And Tatum and Brown have just been a little bit off, and I don't think this is an easy series for them. So my pick is still going to be the same. Celtics in, I think I picked Celtics in 6.
I think, didn't we both pick
No, maybe we went
Celtics in
Celtics
5?
I
still think Celtics in 5, I'm going to be honest.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing went 7. I'm going to say Celtics in 7.
I would be shocked if this went 7, and I do not agree that this is not a great matchup for Jayson Tatum and Jalen Brown. Jayson Tatum versus the Knicks this regular season averaged 34, 7, and 7 on 69% true shooting. Like, he got whatever he wanted. Jalen Brown also played super well. They blew them out in 3 of 4 regular season games, and they beat them in every one. They had what, a 133 offensive rating? Like, if there's anything that does encourage me for the Knicks from this game, it's that Brunson and Cat were able to hold up decently well on switches in the second half. But I still think that that is a big advantage for Tatum and Brown. And OG is a great defender. Absolutely. He cannot stay attached to Tatum every possession. And they're willingly switching Cat onto him.
Of course.
And I also don't think that Bridges is a good defender in this matchup. Both Tatum and Brown
he had the game clinching turnover. I thought he played good defense down the stretch.
That was a really good play, but I think that there is a major strength advantage for both Tatum and Brown. Jayson Tatum shot 73% when guarded by Mikal Bridges this season.
I think the Knicks are really feisty and have good hands, and I think they can get up in Tatum and Brown's dribble a little bit. And
they did in this game.
I think Tatum scares me. I don't know if he's going to keep settling like this and be so passive. And I don't mean passive as in he's not taking shots. I mean passive and he's not being aggressive and getting downhill. And so that's where I think the Knicks, that's why I say I'm closer to 7. I still think the Celtics are going to win this one, but the Knicks really, really impressed me with this win and how they stayed in this game.
I would probably still set the over-under at 5.5. I think that the fact that it was this close in an F minus Celtics game speaks to how big the gap between these two teams is. And I didn't see a lot in this game that changes that other than the Celtics playing a miserable game by their own standards. Tatum, it's not the right approach. He was awesome last series, though, and I think he's the best he's been. And I think that he knows. I literally saw a post-game quote from him being like, yeah, I settled too much. I think that that'll change going forward, and the Celtics will be able to get some really great shots, and they'll be able to, again, make the Knicks work more on the other side, because I thought that they made both of the Knicks stars really work in this one. 2 awesome games in what has been an incredible NBA postseason, and we've got some more great games and one more great series yet to come that hasn't gotten started. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. We're going to preview Warriors Timberwolves after some quick words from DraftKings. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory.
All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable.
Here's something special for first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Logan, we've got a big series that gets started tomorrow between the Warriors and the Timberwolves. We did not get to see these teams play once in the regular season after Jimmy Butler joined the Warriors. So we have not gotten any actual look at them facing each other in the Warriors' current iteration. What is the first key that really stands out to you in this matchup?
Looking at this from Golden State's perspective, I do think what Warrior defends Anthony Edwards is going to be really, really interesting. Wiggins took on the role in the regular season. He's obviously no longer on the team, so you just wonder, are they going to try to go to a zone like we saw against Houston and, maybe look to that for a majority of this game? Are they going to go Jimmy Butler? Is that the route? Maybe Moody. That is a really big key to me with the Warriors, but the other big key is kind of interrelated with that. What Warriors lineups are we going to get, and what role players do the Dubs lean on the most? Because we saw a lot of different guys get minutes in that first round against Houston, and they all provide different, they all have different pros and cons. They're players with a lot of different archetypes. Unfortunately, Carson, as you know, my basketball stock portfolio has taken a really deep dive after I sold all of my Buddy Hield stock. And unfortunately, because the Warriors and the Timberwolves are two of the few remaining teams in the playoffs, I had to buy back in on my Buddy Hield stock, and I lost it a major. I'm down. I'm down in a big way.
Well, you did the classic sell low, buy high.
Yep, I got myself. But the Warriors are going to have to lean on Buddy Hield in this series. And unfortunately, I sold all of my stock. I got to get back in because the Dubs are going to have to play him a lot, I think, in this series. I think you're just going to have to ride the Buddy Hield wave. And there's going to be some really, really low lows with him not locked in on defense and giving up points on the other end. But hopefully there should be some high highs. I just think you need his shooting ceiling and ability. I think you need a lot of Podziemski minutes. I think the connective things that he does in his skill set, the cutting, the activity, the rebounding, the energy, I think you need him a lot. I think you need a lot of Moses Moody. I think the defense and the shooting that Moody gives you, it's just a really valuable skill set with this team. But that's where it gets interesting to me, Carson. Beyond that, I don't know who the Warriors go to. Are we going to get a lot of Looney in this series having to bang down low with the bigs? Are we going to get Quentin Post trying to spread out this defense and get Gobert away from the basket? I probably lean on Looney a little more, similar to my thoughts on the Houston series. I probably want that big body guy who can just bang a little bit more with Gobert on the low block. And I think it's just going to be a little grimier with both of those guys on the floor, and I'm comfortable with that. But those are the two big keys for me with Golden State. What looks do you throw at Anthony Edwards, and what guys do you lean on? Because again, we saw a lot of different looks on the Warriors. I ultimately think they figured it out in the Houston in the final game against Houston what their best look was, but that obviously changes with the matchup against Minnesota. So, where do you come down on those two issues for Golden State?
I do think that Moody should start in this series, and I do think that they should put him on Ant now. He cannot contain Anthony Edwards. Nobody on this Warriors team can on the perimeter. And I just don't think that they can have Jimmy in that matchup because they need Jimmy to provide something of a physical counter to Julius Randle. And they're going to go with their small ball starting five. I'm pretty confident just because that's been by far their best group, and that makes it most functional to have Jimmy and Dre out there together because you have more spacing around them. That's when they've been at their best on both ends since the Jimmy Butler trade. So that means that you have to have Dre on Rudy. You have to have him as your primary rim protector on the interior. You have to have Jimmy as a relatively big forward on Julius Randle. And then you got to put one of your guards on Anthony Edwards. Pods is a solid defensive player. He's got his bag of tricks. He's a master charge taker. He's got good hands. He's a good positional rebounder. He's not somebody who I'm going to ask to try to stay in front of Anthony Edwards. They're going to switch a lot. right? Because that's just the reality of their scheme being as small as they are. And I think that they can definitely do a better job defending the Wolves than the Lakers could, but they're still not going to be able to stay in front of Ant. So it's going to be a lot of the same stuff, right? They're going to have to try to force him to beat them as a playmaker. There's going to be lots of trying to shrink the floor. Maybe they do mix in a zone, but there's going to be a lot of aggressive help. And the reason I think they can execute the scheme better than the Lakers is, first of all, they have fewer flagrant weak points defensively, and they have a lot more speed to rotate out to shooters when Ant is playing the drive and kick game or when he's creating an advantage by passing out of a double. They're just a much faster defense in terms of those rotations. And they have Draymond Green, and like he alone is just a defensive force so far beyond anybody the Lakers had. And he's still an elite rim protector, even at his size. And Jimmy's a great defensive playmaker. So they're just a better defense. They're going to be able to collectively defend better, but they're still really small against a team that is really big, really athletic. They're still going to get crushed on the glass. And like, if Ant keeps making the right reads like he did consistently last series, he's going to create a lot of good looks for a lot of really good shooters. And that's a problem for Golden State.
Do you think they start small? And do you think they run with that lineup for the majority of these games?
I do. I think that we might see some Looney, but their tendency is definitely to have their hand forced to that point. I mean, we saw that last series. They really didn't even play Looney until game 7. They tried playing TJD over him at one point. So they want to be small because that's going to be their best offensive look. And I think that they'll trust their speed and activity and switching defensively. But Minnesota has a huge size advantage. Minnesota has every advantage that Houston had in this matchup in terms of their size and their strength and their rebounding and their athleticism. And they are a way more talented team, and they are a way better offense. They have way more shooting. So like, the Warriors eked out a 7-game series against a team that had a lot of those same advantages, but was a bad half-court offense with no reliable go-to player offensively in the half-court. Now you're going up against a team that has a guy who's playing at a superstar level, is a superstar, and was so good as a playmaker last series, and he has the weaponry around him. That's a problematic matchup for the Warriors.
I think so too. I look at the Wolves as the better team in this matchup, and the team with more margin, and the team whose depth players I trust more. I trust the role players way more. Wrap up on the Warriors real quick before we get to the Wolves. On the lineup point, looking even further down too, like GP2, Kuminga, do either of those guys have an impact in this series? Or are you even giving Kuminga any minutes?
Kuminga is a no-go for me. Just can't trust him to make the decisions and make the shots and be engaged on both ends. He's not ready to be a playoff player, especially in the Warrior system, which is so read and react based, and everybody has to be able to make capable decisions. GP2 may have his moment with his athleticism, with his feel, but for the most part, I'm leaning on playing shooters, and I am leaning on playing Buddy Hield more. Like, he is just the one dude outside of Steph who I mostly trust to make outside shots. Not that he's crazy consistent, but he is a really good pure shooter. And a lot of the other stuff is inconsistent. The decision-making can be bad. The defense can be bad, but the defense was solid against the Rockets in game 7. It was actually really solid. So I think that Minnesota is probably going to try to do a lot of the same things defensively that Houston did. Like, they have a psycho elite point of attack defender who can stay attached to him really well in Jaden McDaniels, like Houston had in Amen. They have the ability to switch 1 through 3 with good perimeter defenders like Houston did. They have the ability to blitz Steph with a lot of length and athleticism when he involves one of their centers in the pick and roll game. And then they're going to help off of non-shooters. So that's why I just think you need to maximize your shooting on the floor as much as you can. If I'm Minnesota, I would try mixing in some zone like Houston did, which was so effective until Buddy shot the shit out of it. But you can keep Rudy in the middle. You can take away the rim for the Warriors offense, basically. And the Warriors were a really bad offense against zone all year. They were 7th percentile offense against zone. So my approach, if I'm Minnesota, is continue to force shooters other than Steph to step up until they prove that they can beat me like that. And if we can run them off the line, then we'll overwhelm them with our size and our length and our athleticism. And just don't let Steph get anything easy. Like, make everybody else beat you at all costs. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good approach. And I think they can do that pretty effectively because, like, since the Jimmy trade, the Warriors have been a very average three-point shooting team by percentage. They were 16th down the stretch of the regular season. They were 9th of 16 teams in the first round of the playoffs. So, like, that's where I think Buddy comes in. And they really need Moody and Pods to consistently find their shots. Those guys are key because they're more multidimensional, especially Pods. That's a guy who, like, you need to have on the floor. But if he's not making his shots and he's got no confidence, then he can hamstring your offense. And he's got to be more consistent as an offensive presence in this series.
Yeah, and for Minnesota, I'm trying to focus on Steph. Obviously, I think that's, step number one, if it's Ant or if it's McDaniels taking on that lead role. And then my next goal defensively is to just try to slow down Jimmy Butler as much as possible. And specifically, defending with discipline. I would try to limit Jimmy going to the line as much as possible. Golden State really relies on Jimmy as a release valve for Steph, not only in the sense of just scoring, but like slowing the game down and getting those easy looks. Because sometimes the Golden State offense can struggle finding shots without Steph, and Jimmy does a really good job of that. I'm trying to limit the amount of times that I'm sending him to the line and giving him those free opportunities, and they're really limited around both of those guys. And so that's going to be my focal point defensively, which, like you said, with their personnel, I think they can do a really good job of. And then offensively, the only concern I think I really have with Minnesota is their shooting and just how consistent it is. But there's so many contributors here that I think that they're going to get an impact from somebody. Because, you could be skeptical about Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle on some nights, right? And you could be nervous about Gobert. Is he going to be hesitant or tentative tonight? But then outside of those guys, it's like, all right, well, maybe DiVincenzo will give me a good game. Maybe Naz Reid will. Maybe Nickeil Alexander-Walker will. Mike Conley. Like, there's just way more mouths that I trust to get fed. There's way more contributors that I trust to deliver down the roster. And that's why I have a little bit more faith, I think, in Minnesota and why they do have that margin. And, right, even with those guys that I'm saying that I'm skeptical of, Jaden McDaniels has the potential to have a big game, to eat in transition, to make 4 or 5 threes. Julius Randle has the same potential, that volatility. I think Minnesota's just got a lot more margin. And then that's not even equating in the X factor that is Anthony Edwards. That I think he's going to be the best player in this series. I think he could very easily outplay Steph Curry. And that's where I look at this potentially being the beginning of the Anthony Edwards ascendance story. It started last year with taking down KD and Devin Booker in the first round and then slaying the defending champ. This year it starts with taking out LeBron and Luka. And the next victims could be Steph, Jimmy, and Dre. I mean, it's like a Hall of Fame tour for Anthony Edwards right now. But I don't think there's a good answer for Ant. And like you said, man, if he's playmaking well, if his pull-up jumper's on, he's just a really hard problem to solve. But I think Minnesota's got really good answers for Golden State defensively. I think they've got advantage on the glass, and they've got a lot more margin offensively where there's just more guys that I trust for them.
Yeah, the depth is really the difference in this series because I think that both Ant and Steph are playing at a super high level right now, and both defenses are going to have to take the approach of force other guys to beat us. Like, you especially are going to take that approach against the Warriors because you think those guys probably aren't going to beat us. Whereas if you're helping off of Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Mike Conley, like, this is a team that was top 5 in threes made. They were top 5 in 3-point percentage. Minnesota was. That is a real collective effort. And the guys who can knock down shots, who I just mentioned, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, they're all good attacking closeouts as well. And they're good athletes. And for the most part, really impactful two-way players. Like, that is a luxury the Warriors could only dream of. After the top 3 for the Warriors, I don't know what I'm getting from anybody on any given night. And I look at the Timberwolves top 8 and I'm like, not everybody is going to be great every night, but I'm going to find a group of 5 guys who are killer every night. That's just such a big advantage. They have so many buttons they can push. Their lineup versatility is so great. Whereas like the Warriors, again, they don't want to play an actual big no matter what. They don't have like game-changing athletes who they can turn to. The Timberwolves, they can go double big and they can dominate the glass, and they're a plus 11 net team in those minutes. That could be a big problem for the Warriors. Like, it's not like Nas and Rudy are as dominant a rebounding duo as Şengün and Adams, but they're still a great rebounding duo. And Nas is such a freak offensively that like those lineups have been great for them and they can just maximize their size advantage. That's the big difference. And that's why I do think that Minnesota is the better basketball team. Like, Steph Curry is still, in my opinion, the best player in this series. I think it's very close between him and Ant, but like Steph is a walking advantage every possession for your offense. The problem is I don't trust the guys around him. So is Ant, but Steph to an all-time extent because he's Steph Curry and he's the greatest shooter and off-ball player we've ever seen.
I am right now juggling like all 4 of Luka, Tatum, Ant, and Steph. And
you're juggling them?
What I'm saying is that they're going to fall into place wherever. And if Ant wins this series, I think Ant very well already could be there, and he could prove it in this series. But the one area where I think Ant is going to prove it and going to have to prove it, like we already said, the 2 variables with him. Ant's a freak athlete. He should be able to get downhill into the rim when he wants. It's the playmaking. It's the pull-up shooting, which is much, much better than it was last year. He's taken real leaps in both of those categories. To me, it's also the clutch offense. Steph put nails in coffins at the end of games against Houston. Even in Game 7, when he struggled all of the first half, I think he had 4 points in the first half, he's still the guy that puts that game away. My red flag about Minnesota coming into these playoffs, they answered it in the first round with the clutch offense. Can they do it against Golden State when that's like Steph's specialty, man? Still at this point in his career, even if he's been inconsistent all game long, it's still that ability to hit all those big shots in the big moments. I'm chomping at the bit, man. I can't wait. I'm pumped for. I think that's going to be really, really crucial in a lot of these games. I think it's going to be close through 3 quarters. Which team can close out more effectively and better? To me, that's still a bit of a coin toss, man. Like, I could see Steph and Jimmy winning some of those battles against Minnesota in crunch time.
Who's more likely to bludgeon the other team in any of these
Minnesota,
games,
for sure, no doubt. But
yeah, I agree.
If Golden State can keep it close, that's what's deadly. That's the challenge, though, as well. Golden State's got to keep it close because I definitely think Minnesota could win some beatdowns and has way more margin.
That's where the Warriors won the series against the Rockets. I mean, it was really eking out the close ones, just having that different level of maturity offensively. The difference is that was one of the worst half-court offenses in the league they were facing, one of the worst shooting teams. Now you're facing a really good offense with a ton of shooting, with an elite creator leading the charge. Julius Randle was really good last series. I do think that Jimmy can do a more solid job on him, but he's going to have some opportunities to attack some mismatches off switches. And like, if he just keeps doing the right stuff, he could play well again. I think he and Ant would both have to be significantly worse than they were last series for the Warriors to win. And I think Steph would have to be like unbelievable. That's why I wouldn't view this as like a battle for supremacy between Ant and Steph just based on whose team wins, because unless Steph is significantly better than Ant, I really think the Warriors are going to struggle to win. Unless, I guess, the role players could be significantly better than they normally are, but like the Timberwolves role players are way better. I just think Minnesota is a tough matchup for the Warriors because of all their physical size advantages and also just because their depth is way better. And I think that they're a more complete basketball team. So I'm going to take Minnesota in 6. I'm not going to lie. I was closer to 5 than 7. I have too much respect for Steph to go Wolves in 5. I think he will find a way to win the Warriors 2 games by just doing special shit, but it's really hard when he's seeing 2 bodies as much as he's gonna, and he doesn't have respectable offensive threats around him. That's why, like, as key as he is to this series, the role players are so key because you can't win games with the level of defensive attention I'm expecting Steph to draw unless those dudes make open shots. We saw that against Houston. Like, role players play well, you win games 4 and 7. Role players are awful, you get blown out in games 5 and 6. That's the dichotomy, and I trust the Timberwolves role players so much more than I do the Warriors.
That's ultimately the difference in this series for me, but I respect the Warriors a little bit more than that. I'm going to say Timberwolves in 7. I think we're in for a battle. I think the Warriors were tuning it up against Houston. I think we get a better version of them. I think these veterans lock in. We get Steph, Jimmy, Dre all doing their thing. But I do think Anthony Edwards is going to be the best player in this series. I think Minnesota's got the better depth. And
if you think Ant outplays Steph, I struggle to see this going 7.
I think Ant outplays Steph, but I still think it goes 7. I've got respect for the Warriors, man. And I don't want to overlook the fact that the defensive duo of Dre and Jimmy, that's a huge component of why
sure.
I think they have respect Houston. I just think that I think Golden State can do a better job of disrupting Minnesota a little bit more. I think this is a little bit better of a matchup for them. So I just think it evens out. I think this is going to be a battle, man. I think this is going to be a really, really good series. But the size and physicality advantage, I lean Minnesota. The depth advantage, I lean Minnesota. And I think this is where Ant's doing it, man. He's the Grim Reaper. He's coming. I think Ant's going to do it. And Wolves in 7. I couldn't pick the Wolves to win in the Bay. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm going to say Wolves in 7.
I think you can win at the Chase Center. Not really bringing the same thunder that they were back at Oracle. As somebody who's frequented the Chase Center, it's not the same environment as it used to be in Oracle. I think that you can win there. The Rockets did it in Game 6 with no trouble. I do think Minnesota is better. I also thought they just had an outstanding first-round series that highlighted all their strengths in terms of their lineup versatility and depth and all this stuff. And I thought the Warriors' first-round series very much exposed their weaknesses that I think can get exploited by Minnesota just to a greater degree. So bums me out. I'm a Dubs fan. I think the Warriors are really good, but I do think there's a gap between these two teams right now. We do have one more super chat before we wrap up. Kelvin says, love from Brazil. What a game from Denver. Thank you, Kelvin, for your generous donation. That was an amazing game, man. I think that this series is going to be awesome. You knew the Denver offense was going to get them a game or two, but to steal this one, really massive. Really massive.
I mean, it's mentally, it's got to take a little bit of toll on OKC, man. Like that's one that would keep me up at night if I was a player for the Thunder. I'd be having some nightmares.
100%. And Denver just did their veteran former champ thing, man. They really came through when they needed it most.
That boy
Yoke came through, and that man Aaron Gordon, dude. That man Aaron Gordon has been one of the best playoff performers and really can't give him enough love. What a day, Logan. What a Cinco de Mayo. What a beautiful day of basketball. Isn't it so great to be alive? What a gift this is, huh?
Dude, I think yes. Preach,
yes.
Bro. Put that on a Cat poster and hang it up. You know what's even better, bro?
I do love Cat. He didn't have his best game today, but I'd get a poster of him, sure.
I get to watch Naz Reid play basketball.
Naz Reid plays basketball tomorrow.
How about that?
Lock in.
Did you even think about that?
I hadn't thought about it, Logan.
That makes me
kind of a
excited.
Dense fellow.
That makes me even more excited to wake up tomorrow to see Naz Reid play basketball.
I can't wait. And Logan, we're going to be back tomorrow. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are going to be back.
We're
going to be talking about Timberwolves Warriors. We're going to be talking about a Cavs Pacers game that hopefully features more than half of the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team healthy. And we are going to keep enjoying these incredible NBA playoffs. And we hope that you all enjoy them alongside us. If you want to, you know where to find us. All of our post-game live streams are right here on our YouTube channel. You can catch them, of course, live or after the fact. And you can listen to all of our full episodes across all audio platforms. You can also find our video essays and video breakdowns that we do on our YouTube channel. And you can check us out across social if you want. TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh. We got all sorts of our fun, silly little trivia content there. And we've also got some clips and graphics from the show as well. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.